Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hey, that panel, you know, all my notes, y'all talked about it. I don't really know what I'm going to do right now. But repeat some of it, and I'm going to be okay with that, okay? Robert, I've not had the chance to meet you yet, but I am just admiring the work that you're doing. So I'm going to call you. We're going to figure out what you're doing and see how we can sort of support some of those initiatives. Shane, you know David had to let you come. You rode with 3 carloads of family in here. What else is he going to do, right? And now look at you changing the trajectory of so many young men and women in our community. So incredibly proud of you. And yes, everybody in this room remembers that you scored 42 points against Mississippi State, right? Emily, Dr. Emily, you are the heart and soul of the Spirit of Vanderbilt, and can never thank you enough for the work that you do for our students, our faculty, our staff, and for me, and for so many others. So thank you for all your wonderful words today. Stephanie, Coach, what an honor it was when David and I welcomed you to the Vanderbilt family, and the wonderful work that you do and that you continue to do with so many young girls that walk across our campus, and you set an example all the time for so many of our student athletes and so many of our other students. So thank you, Stephanie. Eddie. But knowing Eddie like forever, right? You know, we were at Ohio State, and he was just this little young guy, and, you know, running back. And I just know that the journey has been great with us. And when we got asked to come to Vanderbilt, the kids were like, well, where's Vanderbilt? Where's Nashville? What's that, right? What? And Dave said, well, you know, Eddie George is there. And they were like, okay. So y'all have Eddie George to thank a little bit for us coming here. So proud of you, Eddie. And Dave so enjoyed having your son with him these past 4 years. And he often talked about the fact that this was the generational work that he was doing. And when he watched that 27 walk out, he said, well, I've done well. And he did. And I'm proud of all of you and your family. And Sean, the work you do with the Predators, right? You know, everybody's carrying a catfish. And I thought we just gonna fry it on a Friday night, but we're carrying a catfish to hockey, and it's been wonderful. But what I know more about what you do is how you support this community and how you help professional athletes support a community that needs that kind of support, and also how you support the YW and how you bring so many others along to support making certain that women are safe in Nashville. So I appreciate all that you and the Predators do for Nashville. I do have some notes here, so my dear Phyllis taught me how to put them in plastic, so I don't like this all the time. So, and Richard Dinkins, thank you so much for that kind introduction. You know, I met Richard the second day we were here in Nashville. Ian and Nick were in kindergarten together at Aiken, and then Zuri and Sam were in school together. So you and I and Dave and the kids, we've been on this journey as well, and you have always been welcoming and kind. And your fight for equity and for justice, particularly in education, is a gift for everybody in this room and every child that goes to school. So thank you, Richard, so much. You know, Community Foundation. First of all, Ellen, you're the girl. You're amazing. You have an ability to take care of this city in ways that so many people don't know, and you have a way to take care of me in this process, and I deeply appreciate your love and your kindness. You know, Dave was excited about getting ready to be the chair of the Community Foundation. He had all these ideas about what he was going to do, how he was going to make a difference, and how the Community Foundation was going to build more bridges than they already do. So thank you for believing in him. Thank you for giving him the opportunity to lead. So deeply appreciative of it. And so appreciative of this award today. You know, I had the fortune for many years to serve on the Women's Fund with the Community Foundation. And it was when I first came to Nashville, so it was a good time for me because I learned how committed Nashville was to women and girls in Middle Tennessee. And I also got to learn by virtue of doing that, we give grants. So I got to learn about a whole lot of nonprofits in this city that are always supporting women and girls. Now, what better place to be than a place that is actionable and a place that is philanthropic and does support its community. So it's been my honor to serve. Now, Francis. Heard a lot about Francis today, but I'm going to get a little personal with you, okay, about Francis. Francis was wonderful. You know, I could go to Francis and have a conversation and say, Francis, you know, I'm on this board, or I'm trying to figure out some new programming for the work that I'm doing in Vanderbilt. Francis would say, well, Gail, you know, you got to pay attention to this, or you have to pay attention to that. But he would always talk about making certain that I was inclusive and that I was equitable and that the programs that I was doing, and by having this opportunity to do this kind of work, that I had to be thoughtful about the kind of work that I did and thoughtful about the people I had the opportunity to impact. So Francis, thank you for giving me that gift. And you know, Francis and David were good friends, and they talked a lot. I don't know if Dave drank a bunch of that Jack and Ginger, but I don't know. Dave just likes to drink Coca-Cola. So I don't know if he put the Jack in it or not. Do you know Nick or Sam? I don't know. But David and Francis had a profound relationship. They would get into deep discussions about the inequitable plight of young African-American males and how best to go about shortening that gap. How to shape the conversation for this community for effectiveness, for change, and for equity, and for equality. You know, they were like kings together. Could you imagine the two of them just sort of sitting up here, right, just kicking it, right? How would that be like, right? But they were kings together, properly leveraging their influence. So to accept this honor, in honor of Francis, is indeed flattering and kind. David would say, we haven't done anything for this honor, and I would agree with him, and definitely not in Francis's name, because Francis did so much. And I see Francis's mom here, and it's so good to see you. So Francis, thank you for leading the way. I bet you and David are looking down upon us saying, hey, they're doing the good work, man. They're doing okay. So thank you, Francis. A little bit about me and David. Well, I assume most of you all probably thought that David and I talked a lot about the outcome of a sporting event. Well, we did. However, it was mostly me complaining about the refs, telling him, what you gonna do? But then it was him always telling me, well, Gail, you know that was a foul. You know that was a penalty. And I stood up in my most fanatic way and said, who you with? Like, right? I don't care if it wasn't a foul. It's a foul to me, right? All the time. But in reality, we talked about a lot of things. Even in the sporting venue, we talked about lack of representation. We talked about leadership not existing with a lot of people of color. We talked about that. We talked about how we might go about talking about it, how we might go about addressing it, and how we might collectively work on those issues. We talked about the kids, those young student athletes when they come in. What was the trajectory for them going forward? What was our responsibility to those kids? How were we going to lead in a way that those kids could see the value of this education and the value of their purpose? Not just student athletes, but all students. Whether or not it was K through 12, David was doing a lot of work over at Buena Vista. So it was a matter of being in that space and always saying we were doing the best that we could for kids. We talked about our own kids. And let me tell you, my kids, Sam, Nick, thank you for being here. David and Erica, who are in Detroit, are not with us today, but they're in Detroit taking care of their dad, right? So, and also I want to thank my sister for being here. She surprised me last night, and I'm so glad her and her husband Dolan. So, kids, thank you. But we did talk about what that would mean because it went towards who we are. So, David and I don't have any big secrets, and I think the panel talked about a lot of what we were passionate about. And to have equity and to have equality, you just got to do the work. I mean, you have to be thoughtful. You have to be intentional. You have to be those things, and you got to want to be those things. And that's what we were. And one thing that always matters is humanity. It's always, every day, every night, 24/7, it's about humanity. And I think more than anything, David and I just believe in the human spirit and the humanity of all. And no matter where you were, when you were, what happened, when or what, we always had to come back and always stay with humanity and commitment to it. You must just remain committed to making certain that there's access, that there's equality. You know, everybody don't have access. We heard that today. Everybody doesn't have equality. Everybody doesn't see the world the same way. But as leaders, we must always make certain that we know that and that we pay attention to that. And we look around the room and say, you know, something's not right. I think my first foray into equality was when I was in 5th grade and we had a teacher, Miss Hervey. She would take our candy. We weren't supposed to have it, but she took it, right? But then she'd eat it in front of us. And I'm like, this is not feeling right to me. So my mother, who was, you know, head of PTA, right? We have a family night. And they say, students, do you have any questions, any thoughts? I got one. Is it fair? Now, I get why she takes it, but is it fair for her to take the candy and eat it in front of us? If it's fair, I can manage this. I changed schools the next day, but had to catch the bus to school in 5th grade, but, you know, I found out. But what it was, she ate the candy. She bring her pop and chips in there, too. I remember that so vividly. But, so that might have been that bridge for me, was that it's okay to use my voice when I saw something that was not fair. And I had parents to support me to say, use your voice. When you see it, you feel it, and you know it ain't fair, say something about it. And one thing I'll say about David Williams, David Williams was courageous. David would say it. Francis would say it. So you got to have courage in this. You got to be courageous, and the thought of being silent because maybe you wouldn't have everything you wanted, to Dave and to me, was worse than if it didn't change. It'd be worse than if it didn't change. So courageous. And I think somebody else mentioned, you got to be vulnerable, you know. It's not going to be easy. That's that thing about you all talked about. I think that was the third question, right? And you got to be authentic. Just be you. Do you, boo? And it's an okay thing, right? We need to all be okay with who we are and be about this, right? So you have to be authentic. And lead. We talked a lot about leadership. Leaders lead and leaders follow leaders. The pursuit of equality and justice and equity, they just require it. And sometimes you just have to be a bridge builder for bridge builders. And this other one, and I think, Robert, you talked a little bit about it, is legacy. See, on February 8th, a bridge collapsed. It collapsed without notice, and it fell fast, and it fell with like heart-wrenching sounds of pain and anguish. It hurt, and it was shock. And you know, it didn't seem like we were going to be able to build that bridge back up again, right? Or that we would fight again. We all wondered who's going to fight this David Williams fight. Who's going to fight this equity fight? I wondered it. I feared it. Who's going to fight this fight for justice, for love, for care, for compassion? Who's going to do this? How would we survive, our family, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren? How are we going to survive? How is the community going to survive? Oh, but baby steps. Whole bunch and a whole bunch more coming. But they allowed us to see the light, the hope, and the determination that is necessary in this quest and fight for fairness. At the end of the day, it's just about doing the right thing, right? Well, what I have learned and what I have seen, that family is amazing. But what I've learned about Nashville, that Nashville is a strong and loving community. It's a community that values and embraces hope and fairness, and most importantly, legacy. And that's a lot why we're here right now. It's about the legacy. It's Francis's legacy. It's Dave's legacy. So when you're out here doing this fight, because I know you all are, make certain that legacy is in that toolbox, because that legacy means so very much. Nashville, you're also giving us, Community Foundation, you're giving me and our children and our grandchildren and our one great-grandchild, and he is a busy one, the strength and love that we need to continue to build bridges for others. Today, I'm so inspired. Thank you for letting us, and I speak on behalf of all of us, thank you for letting us know that we are not alone. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for strengthening David's legacy. Thank you for letting me know my own strength. You included me in this award, so thank you for letting me know my own strength. And thank you for loving our children, and thank you for letting them have a voice. The battle for equity continues, and you are a beloved and loving community that I have great faith and confidence in, that together we make this difference. But we continue to fight the fight, y'all. So in conclusion, my sweet David, and my husband, my co-award recipient, he'd be so proud right here, right? He would be. Erica, David, Samantha, and Nick's dad, his colleagues. He was your colleague, your friend, and my best friend, would say this every day, and we sort of saw it in the video, but I just want to remind you all that Dave would say, and we should all say, I cannot always do what I want to do, but I certainly can do what I can do, and I will. So every morning, I sort of kind of think I hear him. And he say, Boo, you know he called me Boo, right? He say, Boo, I know it's hard, and it is. But you gotta do what you can and know that you can. And what I do, I try to do something every day. I hope that all of you too will join me. From the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my children's heart and my entire family and friends, we thank you so very much for this inspiring, wonderful, kind recognition and award. Thank you.